Welcome back to the Successful Solopreneur podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pates, and today I want to talk about what it means to beat the odds. I'm sure by now you're very familiar with the chances of success in business, and specifically solopreneurship. It is hands down one of the most difficult journeys anyone will ever take because in order for you to achieve your version of success, it means that you are going to have to consistently, and I do mean daily, confront the parts of yourself that make you feel insecure. Confront the parts of yourself that doubt your abilities, the parts of you that feel like an imposter, the parts of you that continue to self sabotage no matter how much you want it, no matter the fact that you know better, you still struggle to do better. And this journey is going to be, and I believe solopreneurship is the greatest exercise in personal development that you'll ever encounter, right? And, the reason why people often struggle, and there are many nuances to this, but if we were to really look at it from a 1,000-foot perspective, the main reason why people struggle to succeed is their self-doubt, their belief that they are not good enough, smart enough, strong enough, connected enough, rich enough, young enough, old enough, whatever enough to build something that will become a success or create something that will be of value to others. And I can tell you firsthand, that has been my journey and still is. I battle these insecurities of not being smart enough. I battle the shame from the mistakes that I have made. And in hindsight, looking back, uh, every single quote unquote failure that I have experienced, I can track back to the lack of self belief, the lack of um, confidence and self assurance that I was operating from. And so much so that last year, maybe a little more than that, uh, I had the blessing after my mother passed. She left a life insurance policy. And in her final gift, she left me 100 grand. And it was the most money that I'd ever had at one time. Um, and I was committed to making sure that I used this money in a way that not only I would be proud, but that would honor the life of my mother. And in doing so, I chose to invest that money in mentorship, in hiring team to do the things that I couldn't do, in all different types of things, all directly related to my business. And I can tell you with absolute transparency that, over the last year, 18 months, I invested almost all of that money and to to little or no return, financially speaking, for the majority of that time. Only recently have I started to really apply the lessons and see the successes and start to develop a program, which is why I'm even here, starting the show and sharing this stuff with you. Because when I look back at those 18 months, I see a man that had all the ability, he had the wisdom, he had the understanding, but he lacked the self-belief, the confidence and conviction that he was enough to be able to do this, so that he was worthy to guide others uh, and help them do the same. And, one of the things that, a lot of that money went towards was, ads and marketing and all this kind of stuff, which, if I'm being very honest, I fucking hate online marketing. I hate social media marketing. I really, really do. But I also say that with respect to its power and its importance. I understand that marketing is obviously non-negotiable if you're ever going to create a business that is profitable and something that you and your family can depend on. But the ways in which I was learning how to market, uh, I really struggled with, a lot of the social media strategy specifically. And, when I look back at the previous, 7 or 8 years that I've been coaching full time, um, I had to figure out like what was it that allowed me to create a business that I could, um, do full time. And although it wasn't as successful as I had wanted it to be for the majority of those years, I was able to, to do this full time, which was a huge success. And the truth was, I did not do it through marketing, not in the sense of, ads and posting on social media all the time and all this kind of stuff, but how I was able to achieve stability and start to really grow and also build credibility was through collaborations, right? Was through partnerships and using my skills and my expertise to help other coaches improve their programs, help them get their clients more results. Like I said, my background is in transformational psychology, and being able to help people overcome the limiting beliefs and the self doubts and all the stuff that I'm talking about right now that I've been through, so that they too could achieve more success. And these other programs was kind of my sweet spot. And in this process, I started to really um, extract a framework in one that aligned with me, one that really felt like a fuck yes instead of I'm trying to force my thing into someone else's strategy. And what I came up with is not just uh, a mirror or a reflection of how I was able to build a sustainable business, but now has become the literal foundation to what I am sharing with my clients and helping them achieve results that they never had using exactly what they have, nothing more. Right. So, how we're going to talk about beating the odds is really understanding how to leverage what you currently have. Because I promise you, no matter what your circumstance, what it is that you want to accomplish, you have everything you absolutely need to begin creating a business that you and your family can depend on, that you can be proud of. And I'm not talking about quick fixes or jumping from 0 to 100K, in 3 months, right? The results may vary, but the way in which you can create something successful is the same. And we're going to go through the 6 steps and how you create a business as a solopreneur using exactly what you have so that you can create something that you're proud of without wasting a ton of years, a ton of money, and a ton of energy and willpower trying to figure out how to force your thing into someone else's strategy. So, what are those 6 steps? All right, I call this the beat the odds roadmap. And the main odds that we're going to beat are the self um, deprecation, right? The odds of overcoming your limiting beliefs, your self doubts, your insecurities, right? Those are the things that we ultimately want to beat in order for you to become your version of success, your definition of success. And to do that, the beat the odds roadmap, like I said, comes down to these 6 steps. So the first one is direction, right? And if you have the opportunity, I'm gonna encourage you to write this stuff down, right? But step number 1 is direction, otherwise known as a clear and specific goal. And I do mean specific, right? Because most of us have goals, right? But if you actually pay attention to the language that you use, it's very vague, right? You want to become successful, you want to become healthier, you want to become a great partner, a great husband, a great parent, a great wife, a great mother, all the things, right? And that's enough to satisfy most conversations you'll have with other people, right? But the truth is, those goals are not specific enough to move the needle, right? Because what does success actually mean? What does it look like, right? What does becoming a great husband actually mean to you, right? Not to someone else, but to you. So when you think about this, I want you to get clear and specific on the one goal, and I do mean one, that you have. Let me put it this way. Let me ask you this in a question. What is the one specific goal you would need to accomplish in your business by the end of this year in order for you to feel like a success? Right? Whatever came up for you, that's the goal I want you to start with, right? So what is the one goal you would have to achieve by the end of this year in order to feel like a success? That goal is now your direction. It's your North Star. Okay. So number one, direction. Number two, your why. You've probably heard this a lot. And if you haven't, then buckle up because this is everything, right? So your why, what is the reason you're doing this? What is that underlying motivation that is strong enough that you will face whatever challenges, whatever insecurities, whatever struggles or failures you inevitably are going to experience on this journey, right? What is the why that's strong enough that you won't quit, right? And there's an exercise I use with my clients to get to the why, right? And it's as simple as this. It's just simply starting with that goal that you just came up with and then asking yourself, why is that so important? And then whatever comes through when you answer that, ask yourself, well, why is that so important? And then something's going to come up for you. And then we're going to continue to ask yourself, why is that answer so important to you? And we do this 5 times, right? Literally 5 what? And sometimes it doesn't even take 5 to get there, but somewhere between the third and the fifth why is that so important to you? It's going to become emotional, right? You are going to um, feel something, in your chest, in your gut, um, that really fucking matters. And that's what we're looking for, right? So what is that why? For me, the why has evolved. It started out with, because I wanted to prove to myself and to my family that I was capable. I wanted to prove to others that I could do it, and I wanted to prove I could do it my way. Right? Proving it was extremely important, and still is to me. Right? But if you've been listening to the show, you've heard me share the story about my mother's passing, and specifically the conversations we had in her final weeks, where she shared her regrets and how she worked 50 years in a job that she hated, although she took care of us and, it was honorable. It wasn't work that inspired her. It wasn't work that felt meaningful to her. And her whole goal, like many people of her generation and before, and even of our generation, was to, when she got to her retirement, then she would go live the life that she ultimately wanted to live. And it was 6 months prior to her retirement date, literal date, that she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. Um, so she spent the years that she thought was going to be used and lived for her on her terms, fighting cancer, and certainly not the way that she planned that time. And it was the final weeks where she was sharing with me, she didn't have many, but there was a few regrets that she carried as she reflected back on her life, and they were that she didn't pursue the things that she wanted out of fear of other people's opinions, um, and out of fear that she wasn't good enough to become successful at those things. And it was one of her final wishes for me to never give up on my dreams, never give up on what I'm passionate about, and do whatever the fuck it takes to see it through, just like she did with raising my sister and I. And that has become my why, because life is too short and too precious to spend it doing work you hate. That's the why, right? I could spend multiple episodes on just this topic, but let's get back to the 6 steps to beating the odds, right? So one is direction, that clear goal. Two is the why. What is the purpose? That's what your why is. It's the purpose in what you in why you're pursuing this goal, why you're going to become a successful solopreneur. And then number three is defining your unfair advantage. All right. This is the whole crux of what it is that I teach, right? It's getting clear on what your unfair advantage is, right? And we'll record episodes where I break down this specifically. But essentially, what I want you to do is think of a Venn diagram, 3 circles, and essentially where they overlap is going to be your unfair advantage. The first circle on the top, if you think about it in like a triangle, the top circle, you're going to write down your goal, that clear, specific goal you just came up with a few minutes ago, right? Again, that's going to give us the direction because it's impossible to identify the characteristics, the experiences, the tools, strategies, resources, gifts, all the things that will help you improve your chances of success at achieving that goal if you don't have a goal. The goal sets the tone, it sets the foundation for you to be able to begin to recognize and identify what characteristics, attributes, and resources you currently have that will help increase your chances of success, right? So we must start with a clear, specific goal. That's why it's number one on this on these 6, right? And then if you think about the circle in this Venn diagram in the bottom left, what I would have you write down there is I want you to be unapologetically honest with yourself about this, right? I want you to get clear on what are your gifts, your God-given gifts, the things that come so naturally to you that it almost feels awkward that you're good at it, right? You often may discredit this because it becomes so natural to you, right? So, uh, because a lot of us feel that our gifts are, we struggle with so many things, all of us do, that we think the things that come so easy to us must be easy to everyone else because my goodness, if I can do it, it must be easy for them, right? But that's just simply not the truth, right? The mass majority of people you'll ever encounter cannot do what you do as well as you do it, the things that come naturally to you, right? So in that bottom left circle, you're going to write down your God-given gifts. Right? Encourage you to do it in bullet point fashion for clarity. I want you to write down your talents, right? Gifts and talents often go hand in hand, right? But however you like to look at that. And then I want you to write down your skills. What are the unique and specific skills that you currently possess, right? That are of value to other people. And if you're struggling to identify what this is, what are you already getting paid to do? What are the skills that keep you employed, right? And I want you to do this without judgment or criticism. There's no skill that is too small, right? This isn't about being impressive. This is about being clear and honest with yourself. What are your skills, right? And then the last circle, the one down in the bottom right, this Venn diagram, I would have you begin to identify specifically what are the resources you currently have, money, time, social media, email list, all number of things we could work through, right? But what are the resources you currently have and the relationships you have that would increase your chances of success towards that goal, right? And this is about writing down people that you can use or take advantage of, right? No, 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 no. This is about identifying the people who you could collaborate with, right? Because they may have the resources that you don't, but you share the same common mission, right? When I first began coaching, my background is in the trauma space, um, helping people overcome, their deepest and darkest traumas in their life. And, that was my specialty, still is. But what I sucked at was marketing and building a business. So who I collabed with were business coaches. right? Where I came in and operated as what we call their chief success officer and helping their clients overcome their personal struggles, doubts, insecurities, traumas to unlock their potential so that they could utilize and leverage the things that the business coach was teaching more effectively, right? So it's identifying who you can collab with, not who you take advantage of. That's a very, very big key distinction. Because a lot of us feel weird reaching out to people and initiating these conversations or these ideas because we fear as if, um, it's going to feel like I'm asking for a favor, right? But that's not what this is about. That's not how we do it at the Successful Solopreneur. So I digress. Your unfair advantage. Get clear on your specific goal, identify God-given talents, skills, and then your resources and relationships, right? And it's not just what you have, but it's what you have access to, right? I want you to think about that. It's what you have access to, right? So that's number three. Number four is what I call your honest audit, right? This is where you're going to become uncomfortably clear with your patterns of self-sabotage. What are the habits and the behaviors that are consistently getting in the way of your potential, that are consistently getting in the way of your goals, your promises, your dreams? We all have them. I certainly still do, right? But we want to get uncomfortably clear with how you sabotage, right? What are the things you do to avoid the things that scare you, that are uncomfortable, that you don't want to do, right? Procrastination is a big one. Perfectionism is a big one. Social media, pornography, drinking, drugs, shitty foods, right? Binge watching television. These are all forms of self-sabotage if these behaviors are getting in the way of what you know you should be doing in order to create the success that you ultimately deserve, right? So it's about the relationship we have with these things, not whether or not we do them, right? So again, we'll have further episodes where I deep dive into self-sabotage. But number four is an honest audit. How do you self-sabotage, right? So that we can create a game plan to um, begin avoiding and potentially overcoming those patterns. And then number five, this is a big one. They all are. But number five is it. This is literally the key to your opportunities. I don't give a shit who you are, where you're from, what your circumstances are. It comes down to your pitch. Learning how to pitch to people that you can collaborate with is everything, right? And this is one of the big things that I'm going to teach you inside of the solopreneur, the successful solopreneur, is how to pitch specific frameworks that we use in order to um, present our offer, our interest in a way that the other person gets excited, right? Wants to contribute, wants to be a part of, wants to be included in the mission, right? So we'll go through that in specific detail later, or if you join the 7-day mini course, the Unlock Your Unfair Advantage mini course, in the show notes, I'll walk you through and give you the frameworks for all that stuff in that course. So number five is pitch. And the key here is pitching is practice, right? Your income and your opportunities are directly tied to the amount of pitches you send. Hard stop, literal hard stop. The more pitches you send, the more shots on goal you take, right? The more likely you are to succeed, period, right? It's a numbers game. Success is math, not luck. Right? And then number six is really what we all are here to do. And number six is, once we've applied the previous five, is then you become the one who beats the odds. You become the successful solopreneur. You are living your definition of success. Right. So to say that quickly, the beat the odds roadmap, the 6 steps. First is your direction, your clear, specific goal. Number two is your why, which is the purpose and why you're doing all of this in the first place. All right. Number three is your unfair advantage. This tackles your limiting beliefs. It is proof on paper that you have what it takes, right? And then learning how to leverage those things. Number four is your honest audit. That's where you get clear on the specific ways that you get in the way of your own success, your self sabotage. Number five, pitch, right? Creating pitches that inspire people to join you, that inspire them to contribute to the mission, right? And want to collaborate with you. And then number six is becoming the one who beats the odds, becoming the successful solopreneur. So I hope all of this tracks. If you're still with me, I'd say I appreciate it. You are spending your most valuable resource with me right now, which is your time. And for that, I am forever grateful and honored. And my intention is to continue to build this relationship and help you achieve your definition of success and what it means to become the successful solopreneur. So until the next episodes, I hope you have a powerful day, and I'll see you on the other side of your definition of success. Take care.